Founder and CEO of Independent Veterans of America and host of Independent Americans podcast, Paul Rieckhoff. Paul, I think you just heard us speaking with Ken there, but I want to ask you, are you concerned that the administration has essentially given the Army Secretary two concurrent, apparently full-time positions? I've worked in D.C. a long time. I don't remember anything like this happening before, but hey, there's always a first time for everything.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the chaos is our new normal, and I think that's what's most concerning around our national security, around our law enforcement. But look, Kash Patel is an extremist. He's a culture warrior. He's dangerously unqualified, and it's actually good news for the ATF that he's been removed. If it was up to me, they'd remove him from the FBI as well, and our country would be safer. But in the meantime, you're asking a 38-year-old, relatively inexperienced bureaucrat to run the Army and the ATF, and there's a lot more chaos. There's chaos for the people who work at the ATF, at the Army, and throughout our federal government, and this has become the new normal. I think folks have been rightfully focused on the economic chaos that's happening this week, but we need to remember that during this week, the National Security, Department of Defense, ATF have all been continuing to experience chaos and leadership turnover. There's no continuity, there's no public visibility, and Kash Patel hasn't even been seen in the building. So for the rank and file, I think this is more chaos that should concern all of us.
I mean, that's a good point. The focus has been on a lot of economics, but the other branches of the government have continued to work and carry out the administration's objectives. Today in the Oval, Trump and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said they've reached some sort of agreement over the Panama Canal. I want you to take a listen to the sound.
We're at the Panama Canal with their Southcom commander ships, F-18s, troops, and signed a couple of historic deals. One which is with the Panama Canal Authority, a framework for U.S. vessels first and free through the Panama Canal. Right. And then also a memorandum of understanding with their security minister for the presence of U.S. troops. Fort Sherman is an old U.S. base there, as well as their naval station and air station, jointly with Panama to secure the Panama Canal from Chinese influence. That's something you said, we're taking back the canal. China's had too much influence. Obama and others let them creep in. We, along with Panama, are pushing them out, sir.
So U.S. forces in Panama, that's, we'll go with controversial history, but what do you think might be required of the U.S. military under this deal?
I think that's a question for the Secretary of Defense and the President that hasn't been answered. We've seen this a lot where they spike the ball and they don't offer the details around what's going to be required, especially of U.S. forces. Look, it's better than an invasion, right? I mean, the tough talk they've been having lately around Panama and others makes everybody scared of an actual military conflict. So this seems to be a de-ratcheting or a de-escalation, at least, of the rhetoric, and maybe we can move toward a deal that helps American interests and brings the focus back on China, which is what Trump and Hegseth have been doing this week, which is a lot more popular politically. It's a lot more intelligent strategically, rather than kind of spraying and praying across the globe. They're now focusing on China economically and militarily, which I think is the right place to focus if you're talking about the next 50 years or so and who's going to be our adversary. But the devil's in the details here, and it's often a show with big talk and not a lot of details, and that's what we need right now.
I want to pivot a little bit and also ask you, the administration says direct nuclear talks are underway between the U.S. and Iran, and Trump has said that a very big meeting will take place on Saturday. Look, I mean, not for nothing. Could this be a good thing if these two countries are talking again, get back into some sort of nuclear agreement? And what have you heard about this deal? What's your takeaway?
Sure. Look, I'm always hoping for peace and diplomacy here, and I'd love to see the commander-in-chief score a win here. But we also know he talked the same game on Putin and Ukraine. He said there was going to be peace there in a day or two, and that hasn't happened. So, again, it's a lot of big talk, not much on the details, and not much closure. So we need to know what's going to happen with Iran. How is Israel going to be involved? How are U.S. forces impacted? Any step toward diplomacy is a good thing as long as we're not compromising on our side, and that's where we need the details again.
All right, Paul Rieckhoff, thank you so much.